Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Elson. That was a wonderful session and we loved it very much. Thank you. So now we'll move on to the next speaker of the day. She is Grace Johnson. Uh, Welcome, Grace. Grace is a fresh, exciting voice in the global agile community and is dedicated to raising African agile abilities and voice across native Nigeria and beyond. She holds several Scrum Master qualifications and loves the potential of agile framework in transforming the conditions of people in our country. She's dedicated to the lifelong learning and given everyone the opportunity to embrace the true potential. She is a trustee at the Agile 20 Reflect, and she rose to challenge of creating a global agile delivery organization. S- so we welcome her, Grace, to share her thoughts on building up a global agile community of practice. Welcome, Grace.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's great to be here. What a great way to start the morning. Thank you so much, Alison. Thank you so much. I'm not here alone. I'm here with Shelby. Shelby is also a trustee at the Agile 20 Reflect Festival. We together really co-created the event. It was a month-long event, so we're here to really share experiences. And welcome, Shelby. I'll be sharing my screen in a bit. Thank you so much, Women in Agile. It's great, really. I must add, I'm a fresh voice in Agile, and so giving me and Shelby this opportunity is mind blowing. Thank you so much. Okay. Sorry, can you see my screen? Okay. I'm here with Shelby, like I said. So I will be introducing Shelby. Sorry, I have to. Oh, let me make this. Okay. Sorry. Okay. I had to get a new system because my son made, okay. My son threw my other system away, and so I'm just trying to get used to this new PC. So sorry, please bear with me. Thank you. Okay, thank you, got it. Shelby is a fresh voice in the global Agile community. She's dedicated to building communities of practice. In 2020, she became a trustee at the Agile 20 Reflect Festival, where she led the organizational engagement and circle. She onboarded Agile organizations around the world to support the festival. She's currently working with her team to set up the Agile Foundation and the Agile Access Agile community, which is an offshoot of the Agile 20 Reflect Festival. So, Shelby.
Hello.
Hi, Shelby.
Good evening. Hello, everyone that's across the seas. And I'd like to introduce the very wonderful Grace, who I've become great friends with through the festival. Grace is also a very fresh and exciting voice in the global Agile community, completely dedicated to raising voices inside Nigeria and Africa. She became amazing trustee for Agile 20 Reflect, and she single-handedly built the ambassador network, which we'll come to talk about later. She is also currently working with the Agile Access teams and in the foundation predominantly, and that's an offshoot of the festival, which we'll come to talk about just a little bit later on.
Oh, thank you, Shelby. I think this is for you as well.
Yeah, so the reason why we wanted to talk today to you all really was about the festival itself, but the spirit of the festival, how we started, what the growing idea was, and Scott Severite, who is somebody who we call a chief pirate of the festival. He really had an idea, a dream, that it was a collective sense of purpose. He wanted to create a massive worldwide community of Agile practitioners. He had a couple of key things that he wanted to make sure that happened. So he wanted it to be definitely diverse. He wanted it to be inclusive, but more importantly, he really wanted to encourage lead roles for women. And luckily enough, me and Grace were part of that community and part of that idea that he had within inside his head. He also wanted us to make sure that we were delivering free events. It was very informal in its nature. There was no hierarchy. But he wanted us all to get together on an agreed cadence, which we did. We met once a week. He wanted us to get together also as trustees and people that joined the festival to learn, share knowledge. We're all at different levels within inside the Agile community. And so we wanted to make sure that we learn from each other. He wanted to focus purely on fresh voices. He didn't want any of the big hitters, you know, none of the Alistair Coburns of the world or people from who signed the manifesto, but he really wanted up and coming people with fresh voices and fresh ideas. And he was guided by clear, concise principles and a very, very good community policy. So part of my role then was, and given all of that stuff that I just talked about, part of my role then was to lead the organizational engagement piece, which was going out to some of our major Agile organizations across the world and asking them to come in and really support us. But from my perspective, with a real good focus on supporting women and ensuring that women were supported within inside the community. And as they onboarded to us, we wanted them to ensure that they gave voices to people in the community and predominantly women. So I went about engaging with them by email, lots of emails first of all, and then luckily enough to manage to get some really good face-to-face phone calls with the Scrum Alliance, Scrum Org, the Safe Community, RadTech, Dandy People, PMI, BCS, you name it. We kind of, my overarching goal was to sort of make sure that I could email everybody, because to me, I had no barriers. I was like, okay, so what, I know all of these communities, I know all these businesses, I know who they are, so let's just go out and email them and contact them and see what they say. However, once I did get into conversation with them, I was very adamant that they had to understand that we were a free community, that we were a free event. We understood there was no self-promotion, there was no paid events, they weren't getting anything different to any other organization. They were all coming in from an equal perspective, and we asked them to support and promote us on their websites, with inside their blogs, inside LinkedIn and Facebook. Guys, we did that dual event support. We then did promotion, lots of promotion, but again on the focus of making sure it was diverse and inclusive and supporting the female voice and ensuring that they could give us that cross collaboration. So lots of the organizations that we did on board, as I said, Scrum Alliance, Scrum Org, they provided us with speakers, a wealth of speakers. So we got to get to speak to some amazing women, to get them on board to come along and give some events. Then we did some cross collaboration with these organizations. You know, we did great things like I would go in and in the background I would just host the event, or Grace would come in and host an event for somebody, and we would make sure the events were running smoothly, and likewise they offered that to us as well. And so what we had was a great big pool of people that really came in for the whole festival, for the whole month, and supported us in giving free talks, free events, training, learning materials. And because of that, they kind of really bought into the ideas that Agile 20 reflection at the time was, given the current situation with the pandemic, was really something to be on board with. And so we managed to onboard, I think in the end, around 80 different organizations from across the world.
Okay.
And this is for you,
Thank
Grace.
you. Yeah, thank you so much, Shelby. Okay, the topic is actually building the global community of practice. And we're also here to talk about how Agile 20 Reflect successfully brought people from 19 world regions and 140 participating countries to really come and talk about Agile at a time when the world was actually in a distressing time. It was, people were depressed, and so we just needed to get people talking. And so one of the ideas of the festival was actually to get as much as we can, at least a representative from every country of the world, if that was possible. And so in doing that, we came up with the idea called ambassadors, the ambassador network. It was first the envoy network, and the feedback was people didn't really understand what the word envoy was around the world. And some people were more at home with the word ambassador. And so we decided to set up what we call the Festival Ambassador Network. And the Festival Ambassador Network was going to comprise of ambassadors from all regions of the world, if it was possible, from ambassadors as well from every country of the world, if we could get one. And so the vision of the Ambassador Network was also to carry along the vision of the festival, which was also to be community, to be humane in everything we do, to bring diverse voices, new voices from across the globe, to really go to get the conversation going when it comes to Agile in countries around the world where Agile was already developed. And then for places like my region, Africa, where it's still emerging in Agile, some parts of Africa, basically. I know South Africa is really up there in Agile. So we wanted to do an Agile evangelism. We saw Agile as being transformative, so we wanted fresh voices. We wanted people that were really capable of forming country teams, forming regional teams to really carry the vision of the festival and then get the conversation going. And our mission was to create and nurture an open worldwide community of practice. Our mantra being Agile all the way. So what is FAN? Like I said earlier, FAN is actually the Festival Ambassador Network. So what was it going to be? Ambassadors from every region of the world, if possible, from every country of the world, if it's possible. And so when we decided to really come up with a name and really have it set up, we said we needed something to really define what the FAN will be doing. Why we really needed a FAN. Was the FAN really necessary? And what was he going to be doing? And so we sat down and drafted the documents. We sat down, we brainstormed, and we came up with a document of why we needed the FAN network, why it was really important for Agile to be global. And as we can see, the Women in Agile is doing a global event, and we see everybody, women from around the world. And what we actually also wanted to have the FAN do is to encourage women in lead roles, just like Shelby said. We wanted as many women as regional ambassadors as possible, many women as country ambassadors as possible. And so it was basically our agenda. We wanted fresh voices that will get the conversation going. We wanted Agile to be really transformative in governance. So we saw it being transformative in small scale businesses. We saw it in education, and we can see what we recently see from the US, how Agile in education is really pushing forward. And so that's our passion. We want Agile to really be able to bring people from across the globe to really sit down, collaborate, talk around issues area that really inhibited inclusiveness, inhibited diversity, and inhibited equity. We wanted everybody to have a stake at the table. And so that was why we really formed the FAN network. And so we also had to sit down to decide how the FAN network was going to proceed. As at the time, we had a hub, and the hub of the Agile 20 Reflect was basically consisted of the trustees, of volunteers, of organizations. We called it the hub, but we didn't want the hub to really be like the big brother and spread its shoulders, be domineering and be controlling over the regions and the countries. So we decided that the countries and the regions were going to be really self-organizing. We're going to be independent of the hub, of the trustees, of independent of me as the lead of the ambassador network. And so we encourage the regional ambassadors, if it were possible, they could also appoint country ambassadors. But we saw that being that we had a timeline for the festival, we decided to keep appointing. We gave ourselves a deadline, and so we kept going and appointing as much as possible. And so we ended up having regional ambassadors, we had country ambassadors, and each of these ambassadors really formed country teams. I'm sure a number of people here were probably one or two were ambassadors, and they really had to set up teams to come up with events, and all were done for free. It was just our way of trying to give humanity a chance to really come out of the lockdown and collaborate across the world and do something really spectacular and never done before, and really get the conversation going. And so, Shelby, can you start?
Thank you, Grace. Yeah, and leading on from Grace and the festival ambassadors, we would, launching the festival, and we called for, as Grace said, trustees, patrons, volunteers, ambassador speakers, and supporters of Agile 20 reflection. We went worldwide. Nobody was off limits. We email, as I said about the organizations, just like the organizations we did with trustees and patrons, we emailed and connected and tried to reach out to them and explain that everything was completely free, and the festival was dedicated to these fresh voices and these, you know, building women and diversity and inclusion. So we created lots of work circles to help build the festival. We called them Scott's idea was to call them circles. So the festival ambassadors was a circle, my organizational engagement was a circle, and what we would do as busy little bees, we were the leads that were kind of getting into these organizations and these ambassadors and these people and speakers to really just discover who they were and how to connect with them and how to help make better organizations and better people, and to have some really great talks. And so we onboarded lots of world regions and countries via the ambassadors as well and their teams to really help sustain the pace that we had done in the circles, to build the festival up and give some really great talks. And we allowed different countries and different regions to operate how they wanted under their Agile theme. As we mentioned throughout this talk, there was no hierarchy. We didn't want to have anybody outright leading, but what we wanted was lots of people really coming together to support the festival, and we managed to do that, and we onboarded lots of different people and lots of different countries and lots of world organizations. And Grace?
Yeah, we also focused on the community. Basically, like we said, our mantra is also the community. Our goal was really to seed Agile communities as much as possible in countries where Agile is still emerging. And we saw that in Africa. We saw a lot of the ambassadors that were actually jittery at first. When they were first onboarded, most were lost as to how to begin to set up events, to get collaborations going, to get their countries, because Agile was really new to a lot of people. I know the amount of work we had to do to get really a lot of Africans on board the festival. It was way into the festival before we were able to get really people from Africa to really engage. I'm not saying we don't have Agile voices in Africa, but most of the Agile voices we have in Africa are outside of Africa. You have most of them in Canada, in the US, in the UK. But what we wanted was actually have people that are actually in Africa on ground and are able to do Agile, and then, you know, get the conversations going. And so we focused on the community, we collaborated, and then it basically was at the heart of all we did. We ensured diversity and inclusion at all levels of the festival. You know, it's heartwarming when we display the statistics and we see events from South America. South America actually was tops on the event charts. They had the highest events at the festival. We had the United States, of course. You have a lot of Agile organizations and Agile communities in the US and in the UK, so it's not surprising. But we had Nepal, which had the highest online impressions. You know, there were a lot of activities coming in from Nepal, from India, from Sri Lanka, and it was mind-blowing. Africa came late on board, but we saw events coming up, like, you know, people began to warm up, and each time we post something about the Agile 20 Reflective Festival, you get loads and loads of questions asking you what was going on, and so it was really beautiful. We created a psychologically safe environment through a robust community policy. Another woman also heading our ethics committee, Padmini Nidemulu, she was actually instrumental. Her and the team she set up, people from around the globe. You know, we had a robust community policy that ensured that people were in their best behavior, people respected each other. Our mantra remains that respect is the language the world understands. We're from different ethnic groups, religion and all, but respect remains something we all understand and we warm up to. And so we had little trouble within the festival as to bad behavior. We challenged assumptions, status quos, and fixed mindsets in a constructive and respectful manner. I'm sure a lot of you that went to some of the events, you saw we had to bring a lot of the organizations shall be onboarded, and we challenged them. We challenged the assumptions. We challenged the fact that they had little women, you know, in lead roles. We challenged the fact that you know, the cost of entry into Agile was prohibitively high. We challenged a lot of, you know, a lot of things, but we did it really in a constructive manner, and everybody had an opportunity to speak. And that was the beautiful environment that Agile 20 Reflect was able to create worldwide. Shelby?
Yeah, and thank you, Grace. And when that happened, we then had a great month of a free festival, and so we had some really amazing stats afterwards, and we've been looking at these stats for quite some time now, and just trying to understand what they are. But we reached just over 2.5 million people worldwide. We hosted 809 totally free events, and we had something like 80,000 social media engagements from across the world. As Grace said, sorry, these people, we challenge these people, we put these people on the spot, we ask some really awkward questions, and yet they still engage with us. And as we can see by our social media output, they kind of come along to the conversation, and they were open to it. And I think we managed to really connect people across the globe at a time when we were still very much in lockdown, and we were building a very successful community of practice. Grace?
Yes, we must add that we had over 140 participating countries. We had 85 ambassadors. And for a start, it was heartwarming when I looked at the statistics, and we had close to 40 women, percent of women as ambassadors from 19 world regions. And interesting was the fact that we had the communication was in 19 languages, and people really warmed up to each time. We were like, can I do an event in Spanish? Can I do an event in Italian? And I'm like, yes, you can do. And it was really beautiful, allowing people to be who they are. That's just the hallmark of the festival. Yes, Shelby, you can go.
Yeah, so what's the future? So given that we've run this amazing successful community of practice, we then sat down as a bunch of trustees, and we listened to our worldwide community. We've had lots of sessions to understand what is next, and what was next for the festival. And something that we didn't want to do is let Agile 20 Reflect go to sleep. However, we appreciated that Agile 20 Reflect was that month, and it was there. And so what we've done then as a community is we've come back together, listened to everybody, had lots of retrospectives across the world, and we've rebranded to Agile Access, which now has 5 seedlings, which I'll let Grace talk about.
Okay, quickly, Access Agile it is. We have the Access Agile Foundation, Festival, Learning Library Community, and Innovation Forum. I'm actually currently with my team working on setting up the foundation. Shelby is doing the community. The foundation is actually, we have this big vision of really reaching the world again with Agile. This time around, we're also doing it for free, but we're going to be having things like getting these organizations, tasking them to come sponsor and support, and bring out the monies to get people from, people where less deserved areas, where gets them all, get them paying for their trainings. We want to be able to write books. We want to be able to do podcasts. We want to be able to, get a hub of mentors, hub of coaches, hub of, trainers, people that will be training people. We just want Agile to be able to transform the world. We want to see our world better. And so this is the least we could do, get a foundation that, can really reach the world. And as we did with Ambassador Network, get people around the world who have the heart for humanity, getting these hubs and getting the vision going, trickling down as we did with the Agile 20 Reflect Festival. The Access Agile Festival also maintain the theme of the festival as it was. It will have yearly events, maybe not as long as we did with the first one, but we'll maybe quarterly, or we have a 2-week yearly event, and so on. So Shelby, you can talk about the library and the rest.
Yeah, so the one thing that we did do out of Agile 20 Reflect was we had so many videos and learnings and slide packs, and the community really giving all the information and all the events that they had recorded back to Agile 20 Reflect. So the one thing that we wanted to do is set up a learning library. So this is where all our archive videos live, and will continue to live for everybody to gain access to them that are free. So there's, like, as we said earlier, there was 809 events, and most of those, I think 95% of those were recorded. And so that we really wanted to make that sure that is free and available to everybody across the globe, because as Grace has said, that's the one thing that we want to do, is ensure Agile is accessible. And this is where the name comes from, to everyone, to women, to communities, to people that can't afford to go to big conferences. So the learning library has been set up, And then on the back of that, we have the Agile Access Agile community, which I'm co-stewarding actually with a lovely close, I call him a brother now because he's become a brother, just like Grace has become a sister from the community. We're setting up the community, and the community then is also to support like the foundation, but the community is to help teach, help learn, share the good word, come to other communities and show them how to set up a free event or a free community. And really discover how Agile can bring the best to them and their communities, regardless of what organization that you work in and background that you come from. And then really support everybody and sort of be a guiding light and build that community up and still keep those 2 million people that kind of wanted to get involved and seen the benefits of Agile 20 Reflect, and still engage with them to come into Access Agile with us. And then I'll go on to talk about the Agile Innovation Forum. This is the technical side of Access Agile. We were very fortunate when we set up the festival that we had lots of good technical people come in that built us a free website, built us free social media stuff. And so again, tying into everything that we said, we really wanted to make sure that we could give back to the community as well. So we've got lots of people in the Innovation Forum that are free to people in our community that may not have, again, access to building great platforms or afford to go on Meetup and get licenses because they are quite pricey. And the Innovation Forum is there for people to call on to see if they can assist them getting their platforms and socials set up. Grace.
Thank you so much, Shelby. And just to remind you all, Access Agile, our watchwords remain curiosity, collaboration, community, humanity, dialogue, and in everything we do, we have tons and tons of fun. So we welcome you on board Access Agile. You can always find us on our website. We have on all our social media platforms. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. And basically, and so we are a community. We are loving, we're welcoming, we're diverse, and we want you to be part of us. Shelby, anything to add?
I don't think I could add much more to that, Grace. That was simply beautiful. But yeah, we are a massive community now. We have so many different people from across the globe. And my call out to you at this point is that if any of this takes your interest, please reach out to Grace or myself or via our Access Agile websites and come join us and come be part of that fun. Come let your voices be heard. You are powerful. You are women. We are strong, and we can give a voice to people that need it and love what we do inside our Agile community.
Well, thank you so much to Women in Agile. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you to the lovely and always cheerful Shelby, my sister, I call her. If you have any questions with her, I would love to hear from you, what you think. We're here to answer your questions. Thank you so much.
Grace and Shelby, I don't know where to start and end, but one word, impressive. Impressive efforts, I should say. Because we were able to travel with you along the journey of what you explained on why you started doing all these things, and seems to be a quote day. I again I could recollect this quote. This knowledge is power, and knowledge shared is power multiplied. So these community of practices really help plays a very key role, I would say, to nurture that culture. And kudos, and glad to have your sisters supporting all of us there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I would like to add on here, because I was one of the ambassador for Agile 20 Reflect Festival. So it was like whenever I'll need any help, whenever I'm helping Grace, she's always there for 24/7. So finally, I had to ask her, like, which part of the planet you are staying there? Okay, how come you are, there all the time? So yeah, I mean, it's lovely. So it was a great effort. I mean, we had those chats, right, Grace? So I said, do you sleep only 30 minutes or 5 minutes? I mean, yeah, it was immense
That's
effort.
the question everybody gets to ask. I don't know. It's just the heart, it's the joy of getting people happy again, despite the lockdown and the depressing. People lost jobs. People were, I see stories on social media, how people are struggling with the lockdown. So this is my own way of trying to say, I'm here. Anytime I'm here. You can
Yes, and
just
she was
pick
there,
me and
yeah.
I'll be. Thank you so much.
We could have multiplied Grace by 12. She was everywhere. She was so, I call her my graceful Grace because she's always so graceful and doesn't take lots of credit, but she I promote Grace quite a lot because she single-handedly built our festival of ambassadors and really supported them. And I'm in complete, I'm very lucky she's a sister now, but complete admiration for Grace and the work that she did. It was outstanding. She is definitely one of those ones to watch.
But it
Stop
was a
it,
great
Shelby.
effort by all of the, I mean Grace and Shelby, because you guys were amazing. I mean, since I was in touch with Grace all the time, so I mean,
Thank you
that
so
was a
much, Shelby.
puzzle for me. Like, oh God, which planet she is on here?
I'm in Nigeria, Africa.
Okay, so guys, any questions for this wonderful ladies?
I'm sure I might have few, but Grace, I would connect with you later because nothing is coming into my mind. I'm still like awestruck.
Oh, no.
Okay,
Thank you
so
so
if there
much.
are
It's
no
lovely meeting you all.
questions,
Yeah.
yeah, if there are no questions, then guys, I would like to thank you all. The heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you for being our support. Yeah, for this last 2 days. We'll be having the conference on 11th and 12th also, which is for Europe and APAC. But as we say that, that word is in your fingertip, right? One click and you can get connected to anywhere. Okay, so please support us and keep, you know, and thanks for believing on us for being here. Yeah. So most of you, since you have asked us, like, how do we connect? How do we be a part of this community? Well, let me present my screen and give you some. Yeah, so these are the forums where we are there. Each in every country, we have a chapter for WIA. Okay, so as somebody was asking me, can I connect to Singapore? Please do that because we are all virtually connected. So there's no limits as at this point of time. Yeah. So we'll be glad to welcome you in our community, Singapore community also. But yeah, I mean, so you can start your local groups so I can be a point of contact. I can connect you to the respective members there. Okay. And yes, let's keep learning and let's keep sharing. Yeah. So thank you so much. And thank you to wonderful, my core team members, Saranya and Bhakti. Thank you so much. So any questions for us? Saranya, Sumna and Bhakti. Yeah, Sumna is, she has some personal commitment today, so she's not around here today, but yeah. And thank you to wonderful speakers. See you guys. See you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you so
See you
much.
soon.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Madhavi, I do have one concern. So, can we get the presentation slide or some kind of this recording?
Okay. Actually, na Subina, I have